All right, if you just joined us, it's still Journalist Hangout. I still have BKO right here and Asukwo James. So straight to our next conversation. When the ruling house is in disarray, the opposition begins to look like an alternative. Loyalists of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan have criticized the All Progressives Congress APC over the conduct of its National Assembly primaries in Kogi State. Speaking in Abuja, her media advisor described the exercise as chaotic and disorganized. He also questioned the decision of the APC screening committee to clear a former governor of the state, Yahaya Bello, to contest for the Senate, describing despite pending corruption cases with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Okay, BKO, two conversations here looking at the allegations. But first of all, what do you make of the allegations, coming from loyalists of Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan? How valid are they?
Which specific allegation?
It's chaotic, the primaries.
Yeah, well, the primaries can sometimes be chaotic. It's direct primaries.
Yes.
With huge crowds and all that. Sometimes they can be chaotic because, frankly, some of the APC primaries have been so badly organized. Some places they didn't even take voters register to the voting points, And how do you then determine whether the people who have lined up to vote have not exceeded the number of registered members of the party?
Okay.
When you do not bring voters register. And some are complaining that even in some places where they had elections, that they didn't bring register, but they brought results. So this has not been a perfect primary election in most of the places where it has been organized. So people ought to be able to line up. You can see. People ought to be able to line up and have this exercise conducted peacefully. This is Natasha's crowd. Where a politician is popular, it can be a challenge to control the crowd. Now, coming specifically to whether APC should have cleared.
She also talked about the clearance.
This is
just by the FCC.
Let's address the ignorance of some of the people saying, oh, the APC should have cleared. APC has no power. To say because somebody is facing, is being tried in court, therefore you as a panel can then stop him from contesting.
Really?
No, they don't have that power.
Who has that power?
It is the court.
It is the court?
Yes. And I will go back to when Atiku wanted to contest for the presidency. Atiku was accused of stealing money through the Petroleum Trust Development Fund, PTDF. And Obasanjo thought he had found the weapon to deal with him, because they had fallen apart over the third term agitation. Atiku supported many Nigerians who helped to frustrate the third term agenda, and Obasanjo didn't forgive him for that. So they thought they could use that committee that they set up, headed by Nuhu Ribadu, and they had some of Obasanjo's cabinet members in that committee to nail Atiku. Atiku went to court. After they tried to ban him based on the report of that committee. And the court said, no, you can't do that. Only a court of law can stop someone, can disqualify someone from contesting. There are grounds upon which you can disqualify someone from contesting. If he does not pay his tax, it's one of those grounds. That means he has shown that it's not a serious Nigerian.
Irresponsible.
He's an irresponsible citizen. Now, if he's been convicted, you can stop him from contesting. If he's been impeached, he cannot run for office until after 10 years.
Okay.
Yes, if you've been impeached,
okay.
you cannot run for office until after 10 years. Now, Fayose was illegally impeached. The Supreme Court set aside his impeachment. It's not known to law. Okay. That was why he was able to come back. And contest before 10 years.
Exactly.
Because I remember that they took him to court that, oh, he shouldn't have even contested in the first place, and the cases were dismissed. Now, for a man facing, no matter what we think, maybe Yahaya Bello has stolen all of the money that they have in Kogi State, no matter how good the case that EFCC has against Yahaya Bello, the EFCC has no, I mean, the APC has no power under the law to, on account of him facing
EFCC
prosecution by EFCC, disqualify him. Because at that point, he's only an accused person. He has not been convicted.
Okay, he has not been convicted.
Okay, look at let's even clear the doubts of some of these people who don't read. Otiki, the general, you remember one general who was dismissed from the army by a court martial. They said, well, it's related to fraud and all that.
Yes, yes.
No. The Supreme Court has cleared him now. So if you stop somebody from contesting when the case has not even been decided, you want to stop someone from contesting simply because there is a case before a court of law. What if he wins that court case? And we've seen many big political figures defeat the EFCC. Because the EFCC, most times, when it has to do with politically exposed persons, they usually don't do diligent prosecution. This current leadership of the EFCC that I've seen that have done, have improved in that area. Many people, former Minister of Labour, for example, Hassan, in fact, the Supreme Court abused the prosecution because they didn't do anything. Okay, look at the innocent man, former Attorney General of our country, Mohammed Adoke, that the EFCC, for political reasons, took him to court. They were prosecuting him for corruption. Meanwhile, the matter was even a disagreement between the board of directors of a private entity. They took him to court. They got involved politically. And the guy won the case. Again, they didn't bring evidence sufficient to show that this man committed any offense. They just wasted his time for about 7 years. The judges were very harsh on the prosecution. So many times when people are taken to court, I'm not saying Yahaya Bello is clean. You know, I don't know him to that level.
You're just saying it based on
what I'm saying is that that somebody is taken to court does not mean that he's guilty as charged. That's not the way our law is. And you cannot say that because somebody has been taken to court, even when the matter has not been fully tested by the court, you now say, okay, he should not contest anymore. A lot of these politicians that you see, many of them had court cases. But they still go. Ojus Okalu doesn't have a court case as we speak. And it's not the only one. Many of them like that. So, but you can't stop until that person has been convicted. Yes, it's a convict. You can't contest an elected position. But without judgments entered against him, he remains an allegation. That
proven innocent.
Yes, you must prove the allegation first.
You have to prove.
You have not reached that level when you prove it successfully. Then that person remains guilty. I mean, innocent. You know, until proven guilty, and you have no right to disqualify a person who has not been proven guilty. There are so many litany of cases that we can cite. You know?
I mean, what really, looking at, now that BK has, broken this down, for what really is Senator Natasha's aim with all of this?
You know, they are from the same senatorial zone.
Yes.
You know, so
is this all politics?
Yeah, of course, it's all politics. And also, I want to also say that even she might not even know this portion of the law.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
You might be shocked, because if somebody, remember a case with Akpabio. You know, when she misled so many journalists, or maybe the journalists decided to be misled.
Some people are still waiting for the evidence as well.
You understand? So
you won, you claim that you won.
You won,
yes.
But you are the one who appealed.
No be juju be that. You understand? So she might not know. But just like BK said, you know, we have this attitude of once they say, oh, one governor has been arrested by EFCC, we just believe that it's true. You know, he has stolen the money. No, the court is the one the court will decide whether it is true that that person actually stole the money. Look at what happened to the former minister of power.
Yes, that one they proved it.
They proved it. You know, and that was
they couldn't prove Fanika. They couldn't prove Fayose.
So there are many.
They couldn't prove the Meji Bankole.
Exactly.
That was clearly also a political case. So if somebody files just a political case now, you will now use that to go and
disqualify. No. You know. So when they are talking about immediately I said no. Now this is all politics.
So it's all politics.
So it's just all politics. And I feel that the APC, you know, should even come clean in terms of all these people they said, oh, not cleared. Let them even bring the list and give us reasons why they were not cleared.
Some of them are not cleared for political reasons.
You know,
for political reasons.
You know, so maybe that's why they're hiding. You know?
All right,
for this particular case,
if it is purely because his case is in court, you cannot disqualify.
No, you can't.
The judgment has been given in respect of that, even by the Supreme Court.
If not, he will even Yahaya Bello, if they disqualify him based on that, Yahaya Bello can sue the party.
Okay, gentlemen, my director is starting to threaten me right now. But we need to go on this quick break right now. And when we return, the conversation continues. Don't go away.
Babajide Otitoju schooled Natasha's supporters. Earlier this morning or yesterday, a major reason Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's supporters mock Yahaya Bello and the APC is the perceived contradiction between Bello's continued political influence and the corruption allegations hanging over him. The argument is essentially, how can someone facing serious EFCC allegations still dominate the politics and be discussed for future political ambitions? End of quote. That mockery intensified after the EFCC filed charges against Yahaya Bello over alleged financial crimes involving billions of naira. Bello denied the allegations and challenged the process in court. So when Natasha supporters ridicule APC figures, the underlying message is that APC talks about accountability, yet powerful politicians still retain influence despite pending cases. Therefore, the system appears selective. That is why phrases like "you still want another position," same people talking integrity, politics above accountability became common among our supporters online. From a political communication perspective, the mockery is not just personal insult, it is symbolic criticism of perceived elite impunity. However, Otitoju's counterpoint on TVC was likely centered on an important legal and democratic principles. You see, an accused person is still legally innocent. Under Nigerian law, a person remains innocent until proven guilty by a competent court. So even if Yahaya Bello has cases in court, allegations alone do not automatically remove political rights. Public opinion is not a legal conviction. Supporters should avoid presenting allegations as established facts. That's why Otitoju tend to resist what he sees as social media conventions. 2. Nigerian politics often separate legal problems from political viability. In practice, many Nigerian politicians contest elections, retain influence, receive party appointment while still in court battles. Supporters of Natasha see this as corruption and hypocrisy. Defenders of Bello argue that the cases are politically motivated, courts have not convicted him, opposition figures are exploiting allegations for propaganda. Why the mockery resonates publicly? The mockery works politically because many Nigerians are frustrated by slow corruption trials, elite immunity, selective accountability, powerful politicians remaining untouchable for years. So Natasha supporters weaponize satire and ridicule to express that frustration. But critics like Otitoju warn that mockery can become defamation. Emotional propaganda can distort legal realities. Democracy should rely on court and evidence, not online sentiment. Detention is the real heart of the debate. Supporters' position. Powerful politicians escape accountability. Otitoju's position. Allegations are not convictions. Law must guide public judgment. The controversy therefore reflects a broader Nigerian political problems. How citizens balance anti-corruption anger with the constitutional principle of fair trial. You know, both parties, both Bello and Natasha, are from the same senatorial zone. Therefore, the two will come together for this against each other for the coming election. And we should not mix up these two cases before two of them. You know, there was a case between Bello and distinguished Senator Natasha on the defamation case between two of them. So the case is different from the AFCC case against former governor of Kogi State, Bello. So Natasha has another reason why these people are not supporting Bello is because of that also. Former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello reflects a deeper political battle in Kogi politics rather than just ordinary mocking or media drama. From the available reports and public reactions, analysts like TVC news commentator Morayo Afolabi Brown and political analyst Jide Otitoju often frame the issue around three main themes, like Natasha has increasingly positioned herself as a politician fighting for powerful establishment in Kogi and Abuja, and her supporters see her as outspoken, anti-establishment, fearless against political intimidation. Because of this image, many of our followers openly mock APC figures and Yahaya Bello online whenever court cases, EFCC matters, or political controversies arise. Supporters should separate sentiment from facts, in my own opinion. Their rivalry has become a symbolic. Natasha supporters portray Bello as the face of APC dominance in Kogi. APC loyalists portray Natasha as confrontational and provocative. So while our supporters mock APC or Bello, they are expressing years of accumulated political anger. Legal battles have intensified public emotions. Recent court rulings added fuel to the conflict. A Kogi High Court awarded 1 billion naira damages against Natasha in a defamation case involving Yahaya Bello over a comment she made on TV. Natasha rejected the judgment publicly and vowed to appeal. This made their supporters more aggressive online because many of them interpret court actions, investigations, political criticism as coordinated attacks against her. Otitoju criticism likely comes from concern that political supporters are turning politics into ridicule and mob behavior. Excessive mockery weakens serious political debate. Emotional support can blind followers from objective analysis. So broader political meaning is what is happening. It shows how Nigerian politics is increasingly driven by online loyalty wars. Politicians are becoming brands with emotionally attached supporters. So TV debates now amplify digital political tribes. The mockery of APC and Yahaya Bello is therefore not just human, it is political signaling by supporters who believe they are fighting entrenched power structures. At the same time, critics like Otitoju warn that turning politics into constant ridicule can deepen polarization, encourage misinformation, and also reduce accountability on all sides. So the core issue is not simply who is right, but how political identity, media narratives, and public emotion are shaping Nigerian democratic discourse today. What is your perspectives? You know, these two will come against each other coming 2027. Who will win the coming election? And what is your view about this? Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.